thank you to our previous panelists. And I am Rosha. And now we'll be moving on to our next session. I was 15 when I found Bilkis crying around the corner of our street. She had just escaped a dingy house where she had been captured and sexually abused for weeks. Bilkis, like millions of children and women in the world, was a victim of human trafficking. Sex trafficking is one of the most organized crimes in the world. And while there cannot be any absolute data indicating the actual intensity of the situation, an International Labour Organization report shows that in 2017, 4.8 million people were trafficked into sex work. Despite the magnitude of the problem, the state of victims of sexual exploitation is seldom discussed by the mainstream. Having said that, it is today with extreme pleasure that I invite Dr. Sunitha Krishnan to address us on the mental health of victims and survivors of sex trafficking. Dr. Krishnan is co-founder of Prajvala, Asia's largest institution combating commercial sexual exploitation. Ma'am, you're an inspiration to me and a number of girls who aspire to make a change. Over to you.
Thank you, Rushi. Namaste to all of you all. What is the world of sex trafficking? What is the world of those human beings who are trapped in it? What is the landscape of mental health that we are talking about? Let me start with 4 stories of 4 young people whom I have had the fortune to meet and witness their lives. On my left, on top, is 13-year-old Rani. Her father abandoned them when she was very young. The mother and daughter eke their livelihood hand to mouth. And one day, some known person came and said that they could offer her a job as a nanny in another state. For the mother, it was a great hope. For the daughter, it was doing her familial duty. And with a lot of trust, she left with this woman. As they were traveling, in the course of the travel, this girl overheard a phone conversation between this woman and somebody else. Something to the effect of, it's a fresh product. The rate you're giving is very low. Rani was immediately alert, and she thought her life is in danger. And immediately she called somebody in the village who happens to be her boyfriend. And this gentleman comes and rescues her. Rani does not remember anything after that. All that she remembers is she had a cool drink, and the next thing is she was found in a brothel in Delhi. The child below her is 6-year-old. Her mother was a woman in prostitution, and at a certain point she could not prostitute because she was infected with many diseases. She desperately needed money. She sold 6-year-old Anjali to the first pimp. When we rescued Anjali, she was already raped by more than 80-90 men. On top, on my right, is 32-year-old Anuradha. She's a teacher. During the COVID pandemic, she lost her job. Her husband, who was working in a software company, he also lost his job. Both of them lost their jobs. They tried to manage with their savings. It didn't work out. So the man started taking instant loans online. Obviously, he could not pay it because there was no money coming. And then he started getting harassed by the people who had given money to him. They hacked his phone. And to all the contacts, morphed images of him in compromising positions were sent to all the contacts with the message, he's a fraud, don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. Overnight, they couldn't walk on the street. Overnight, they couldn't face their friends. Overnight, they couldn't meet their relatives. At the same time, precisely at the same time, Anuradha was getting messages on her phone on jobs available without any certification. Advance salaries would be paid. In desperation, because the situation was going out of hand, she gets into a trap, only to realize that it is a trap of prostitution, and she can't even go back because she's already taken the money. The last child is a 9-year-old child who lost her parents in a civil unrest. At the age of 4, she was bundled by several relatives. At the age of 5, she was too burdensome. Girl child is anyway burdensome in many parts of the country that I come from. And she was sold off to the first agent. 4 years later, at the age of 9, we were able to rescue her on a railway track with her intestine out. In all these 4 stories, I'm talking about vulnerability. I'm talking about optionlessness. I'm also talking about a whole criminal nexus of human beings who are taking advantage of this vulnerability and optionlessness. Cheating, fraudulent means, abuse of position of power, grooming, manipulation, an absolute breach of trust, and there's no age bar. I've been responsible for rescuing more than 28,000 women and girls out of prostitution, and the youngest child is 3 years old. If the journey starts from there, what is the world of sex trafficking that we know of? It is a world where the business model is of selling sexual services, where most of the victims, 100% of the victims, only come and realize in the destination that there is no job, there is no love, there is no marriage, there is no modeling, there is no film role, there is no nanny, there is nothing. You have to sleep with 10 or 15 men a day. A different layer of slavery, a different layer of exploitation, which is built on threat and intimidation, which is not a fantasy. It's a real threat. It's a real intimidation. This young woman who said, no, I don't want to do this, they threw acid on her face. The other woman said no, and they couldn't handle it at all. They killed her there. The picture that we got from a girl's mobile phone. So the threat and intimidation that each of the victims go through is not something which is imaginary. It is very tangible. It is very permanent. And the fact that the trafficker knows from where the child has come, or where the woman has come from, or where the girl has come from, makes it far, far more intimidating. And then starts the whole ordeal of what selling sex, when you're forced into it, starts. Where your body is battered by criminal elements who believe that your body has to generate revenue for them. You like it, you don't like it, you have to sleep with that many number of people so that the revenue model continues. You have clients, customers, buyers who think, I have paid 500 rupees, 100 euros for this body, I can do what I want. It's a 3-year-old child, it's a 5-year-old child, it's a 10-year-old child. They don't care a damn. They have paid for the body and they have to get the services. If that is what is being battered from outside, internally the victim is going through a battle to survive in this exploitation. She uses alcohol, she takes substance abuse, drugs, kerosene, petrol, Benadryl, anything and everything to keep her sane in this world of exploitation. Combined with getting all kinds of infections, diseases, HIV, AIDS. So when we talk about sex trafficking, we are talking about human beings whose body, mind, and soul is broken. We are also talking about human beings who are forced to normalize that experience of being exploited. We're talking about human beings who lose trust in themselves, the state, the system, any other human being, because they have no sense of their own identity. And it is a reality. If mental health is a stigma, being in sex trafficking is a bigger stigma in my country. You can never come back home. You will never be accepted back by your family because you have destroyed the family honor that we are talking about. you are talking about people who become so hostile to even take support. So if you look at the range of impact of sex trafficking, from the physical injury to the emotional injury, from anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, to every kind of impact to your body, mind, and soul, it is there. But as I say this, a whole world of sex trafficked victims, when they're removed from that place of exploitation, lose even the basic meaning of life. Life has no meaning at all. This small pieces of iron and metal was something that a 9-year-old victim kept poking into her body and had to be surgically removed at least 8 times. She wanted to hurt herself so much because flashback memories of what she went through was so difficult for her to live it. I want to pause here for a minute before I start on what is healing in this world of brokenness. This young woman, this picture was taken just 15 minutes before she died. She was 13 when her brother-in-law sold her to a brothel in India. She was resold to several other brothels. At the age of 16, when we rescued her, she had 9 abortions. Her body was infected with all kinds of diseases, including HIV/AIDS. Through a whole world of therapeutic care, she survived for 3 years. At the age of 19, she had full-blown AIDS. Just half an hour before she died, she requested me to take this picture. I was baffled, but I took the picture, and I quietly asked her, "Why did you ask me to take this picture?" And she said, "You speak to hundreds and thousands of people across the world. Please tell the world, what are the damages of prostitution so that no other girl has a fate like mine?" I see that generosity of the spirit. She is my hero. I see that sense of humanity still conserved in her. And I see that as the power of the healing journey that we have established in a small city in south of India called as Hyderabad. Prajwala, the organization that I run, has set up one of the largest therapeutic communities, which follows a trauma-informed approach that recognizes that victims that we are removing from the place of exploitation might have normalized the experience of being exploited, might have become, subjected to Stockholm Syndrome, where they are more, loyal to the trafficker than to us, and are absolutely hostile to my provision of service or care or compassion. This whole therapeutic community is an experiment to create a safe space from exclusion to inclusion. And when you say exclusion, it's not just the emotional exclusion, it's a social exclusion, it's a family exclusion. So it's a whole journey of how we are helping a person to become from a victim to a survivor. It's about healing the body, it's about knitting the mind to a space of cohesion, and nurturing the soul. It is a combination of various processes, from healthcare, de-addiction, psychosocial intervention, life skill, education, livelihood training, employability training, restoring identity through civic thing, but most importantly also access to justice. So healing is not just about counseling. It's about many, many other processes that contribute to the healing. And that is why if you have to help a person who has been victimized in this form of slavery and build a space for her where her mind is without fear, we have to go beyond chamber-based counseling. We have to go beyond psychiatric intervention and see what is locally contextualized in the social cultural norms, which she can relate to. The kind of therapeutic model that we have created depends on yoga, depends on meditation, it depends on faith, depends on prayers, depends on performing arts, dance, music, depends on peer-to-peer intervention. We have a large survivors network and union which is for self-support. But most importantly and very, very interestingly, we have been able to experiment with non-conventional trades, such as welding, carpentry, fabrication, for therapeutic purposes. So you see here women who are doing welding, they make furnitures, they make wooden furnitures, they make steel furnitures as a part of a therapeutic exercise. You see also young women here in martial arts and meditation. So when the soul is healed, there's a restoration of self, there's a confidence in one's own ability. But much more than that, I don't know whether I can change your attitude after this session. And I don't even know I can change the attitude of my Indian countrymen after giving any speech anywhere. But what I know is I can prepare that person to deal with any form of rejection. And that is what healing is all about. To stand up on your feet and look into the eyes of the society and say, I live on my own terms and things. But this also means justice for the harm done to her. Is this a very easy exercise? Is this a very easy model to do? No. Long-term sustenance of a project like this, you can't do a project model where you say, okay, I give you funding for 1 year, this is it. Now I want to go off some other project. No, it doesn't happen that way. These are long-term commitments. And I want to acknowledge with gratitude Andreas Drakopoulos and Stavros Niarchos Foundation's help in sustaining our mission for so long. And I hope it will continue. But it is definitely a very highly financially intensive intervention, getting committed people who will not bother about stress and burnout, committed people who are willing to take on the mafia, the criminal nexus, that is our everyday friends who come and meet us, other traffickers who want to kill us, is a challenge by itself. Ideological attacks. There's a whole world of people out there who say, why are you opposing prostitution? You know, it is the autonomy of a woman to decide what she wants to do with her body. Not when there is cheating, not when there is force, not when there is fraudulent efforts. And this ideological attack also is a challenge for organizations like us. But the biggest challenge is for all of us here, out of sight, out of mind, this is not a priority. And if it's not a priority for you, it'll never become a priority for your state or your governments. What have I learned in the last 30 years? Removing more than 28,000 young women out of sex slavery. There is no single solution to this complex problem. But yes, simple, mindful strategies also can create an ecosystem of well-being where fragmented souls can mend and dignity can be restored. While I talk about the journey of victims to survivors, I will fail in my duty if I don't make my concluding remarks. Why does this problem exist? Why are women and children as young as 3 years and 4 years being sold globally anywhere in the world? There are buyers, there are sellers. Somewhere, you and me are part of the problem. In our silence, in our inaction, in our complacence, and most importantly, in our tolerance. The day all of us take a collective pledge that we will create a zero-tolerance society to any form of violence, any form of slavery, the day we all of us pledge that one of us or one among us will not be the reason for a girl child to be sold or bought anywhere, that is the day the world will become a safer place for all of us. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, thank you, not only for your talk, but for your work and everything. So I would like to begin this Q&A session by asking the first question myself. My question is whether or not it is possible to achieve a full reinsertion in society, considering the social stigma surrounding the topic.
It is difficult, but not impossible. And I think we should believe that it is possible to do it, but definitely it's not going to be easy to do it. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. So if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or send your question through our SNF Nostos app.
Thank you. How is the first contact with these children? How you approach them?
You mean inside the places of exploitation?
No.
Or outside the place of
No,
exploitation?
no, no. How you find them?
So we have a huge information network. I've been doing this for the last 31 years. We have a lot of informers and information network across the country. We also, this is just one part of my work. A big part of my work is in the community, raising awareness about this issue. And in that process, we get a lot of community people who become part of our mission, who also become our informers. And when we get an information, then we do an independent investigation to find out whether the information is true, it is validated, and then we collaborate with the police to do a rescue operation. It is mafia versus mafia. The good mafia and the bad mafia.
Thank you. We have another question on the bill.
Somebody wants to give the mic here, please? Do use the mic because I was beaten up a few years back and I've lost hearing on my right ear. So I'm practically deaf.
Hello there. Thank you for showing us the part of the world that we try to hide under the carpet in any part of the world, which is traumatizing, but it's good to talk about it. And we need to talk about bad things as well in order to find some solutions. In your 30 or so years that you were saving those poor souls and re-educate them, trying to help them, do you find that most of them, they have a better life, they have families, they progress, they have jobs? Do you have some sort of statistics of this great work that you do for those 26,000 children?
Yes, out of the 28,000 and odd women and girls that we have removed, I would say around 26,000 are very well settled in society. Many of my children are doctors today, they're chartered accountants, they are television camera women, they are welders, they are carpenters, they're front desk managers in big 5-star hotels. I personally got around 9,800 of them married. But I definitely would say around 2,000 and more went back to the same situation. And in COVID times, much more than anything else. When the pandemic struck and all these many girls who were reintegrated in the society, they have no family support, they lost their jobs, and the traffickers were just waiting for them to be bounced back. So there's that kind of people. Then there are some others who would actually tell me on my face that, you know, I cannot now come back to normal life. I don't think I have it in me to come back to normal life. So I have not been 100% successful, but I've not been a failure too.
I hope you find more people like you to carry on this work. It's
I
necessary.
hope so. We need more mad people like me in this world. Yeah.